Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. So we are a family of six. We are looking towards relocating to another place on the planet, anywhere other than here in the United States. But real quick in this video, I wanted to talk about what I seem to be kind of seeing online. Now, I have a couple of YouTube channels. I have this channel that it's a relocation channel. I create content about relocation. Now I have other YouTube channels, whether it's DIY. And then I also have another YouTube channel where I talk about more political things. And so I try to separate sort of my personas, our personas, as to kind of what we're into. And what I'm finding across the different channel niches that I have myself in creating content, and so and as well as my separate channels, these tend to be very like separate things. So for myself, I'm very much a person who's interested in technology. So I do some programming, software development. So I have a channel dedicated to that. I have a channel dedicated towards African politics, and so I'm dedicated to that on a separate channel. And of course, I have this channel where I talk about relocation, thought process, things I'm looking into, the cost of living, and all these things. And so in those channels, I try to keep my searches and my sort of engagement with different topics in those particular channels so that it's, isolated and so sort of siloed. But what I'm finding very concerningly is that despite whichever channel I happen to toggle within using my YouTube channels, within my YouTube profiles, I'm constantly seeing videos about everybody and everyone wanting to relocate outside of the United States. And so this has me concerned in two ways. Number one, okay, it legit means that I'm not crazy and things are just becoming horrendously unaffordable to the extent that it's causing a mass exodus outside the United States. That's number one. And the concerning and sort of like apocalyptic version of myself kind of says, what if this is a psyop? What if this is a psyop and there's a coordinated influencer campaign to try to get more YouTube content creators who typically don't make content regarding relocation to now start talking about relocation as a way to plant the ideas in the idea of relocating outside the United States amongst the masses. And so that has me concerned. Now, I'm not sure which one is the answer, genuinely. I don't know. But I'm just kind of like looking at things like, So, for example, I follow a YouTube channel that is centered around programming, typically. And this guy's been making some content around programming for a long time. Now he's switched his content here and there, left and right, talks about more politics items. And sometimes he tries to kind of focus in the back on technology field. But as of today, I just watched a video of him on my separate channel that is dedicated towards programming. And he's talking about relocating, and he's already has exited the United States and is now living elsewhere. So it's like, that's suspicious. Now, my political channels as well, it's the same thing. Like various different couples, different relationships, like different backgrounds are all considering or have already exited the country and are living elsewhere. And it all centers around two things: the cost of living, which we all are objectively seeing it's insane, and as well as the politics piece of it. So I don't know what the answer is. I try to keep this channel more on the relocation aspect of it, but it's just very, very interesting that there's a lot of talk and discussions around people relocating outside the country. And I don't know what to make of that. Is it that, the things are just so expensive and people are like, you know what, peace out? Or is it that the political powers that be are trying to engineer that max exodus to retain a certain caliber of the population within the United States, because that has been part of the stated goal. But for whatever it is, on this channel, I will keep on bringing content about sort of our life journey as to sort of our plans in how we're going to make our graceful exits out of the United States. For us, it's a little bit more complicated because we have 4 kids. And so the cost of which to exit the United States is very large, to say the least. We can't genuinely afford private international schools to school our 4 children. Maybe if it was just 1 or 2, okay, we can eat the cost for maybe a couple of years. But for all 4, that gets prohibitively expensive. So we're strongly considering instead homeschooling, finding something that's affordable in that space. So if you have any good recommendations of international school, if you have any recommendations for homeschooling options that you know of that are based in the United States that we can use that are affordable but also reputable, please let me know. If I find something, I'll compile that piece of information and share it broadly, or even make a video about it. So that's the kids and their college education, and as well as just relocating a family of 6 over to somewhere else, most likely Vietnam, Thailand, is or even Philippines, is the thing that kind of gets us. The other thing that gets us is because we have a couple of real estate properties that we would need to sell off prior to relocating elsewhere. And that's very deliberate. We have to sell off the properties before we leave. Now, you would think, okay, just keep the properties, keep them rented, and all of them are rented. They're all cash flowing. But the concern I have, and the concern with real estate, is that, yeah, you can cash flow, but expenses is where you get essentially murdered in real estate. We have a property management, so that transition to kind of being a remote landlord would be easy. However, the problem is periodically things come up that are just like ridiculous little small items, whether, the AC is not working and all it is just a capacitor that needs to be replaced. Now, I do all those myself, but if I was to have someone, an AC tech, come out and repair it, easily, the repair bill would be like $400. Now, let's break that down. Okay, if the issue happens to be the AC, and that is mostly what the case happens to be, especially when the summer months it gets really hot. So to repair the AC because it's not starting, okay, or it's either one of 2 things: either the AC is not starting, and that's a capacitor issue, and the capacitor issue, it takes about on Amazon, you can buy a new capacitor of the same model and the same capacitance, different values. It will cost you like $40 max. Okay, typically like 27. Okay, to replace the same model. So why is it then that a tech comes out and charges me like $500 to repair it? And we know what the issue is. The issue is the capacitor. Like, why does that inflate to $500 when the part itself is like, dirt cheap? That's number one. Or if it's not the fan is the AC is not starting up, it's starting and it's blowing, yet it's hot inside. It's blowing hot air. And in many cases, all that needs to be done is you take a vacuum hose to the outside pipes of your AC and suction it, and then it drains in a whole bunch of fluids and allows it to cool off. That's very cheap. You don't even need to buy a part. All you need to have is a vacuum, and the electricity is from the house itself. So why is that also expensive? So what I'm trying to get at is with real estate, you get murdered or you potentially can lose your property because of not being able to keep up with the maintenance cost relating to keeping it rentable. And if it's in disrepair or deferred maintenance for any amount of time, you're going to have a harder time keeping it occupied. And if you can't keep it occupied, there's no income coming in. So it becomes a circular jerk of, some issues. So before we leave here, we need to be able to sell those properties prior to really doing anything. The good news for us is we're in good positions to both keep our maintenance costs low and we bought our properties before prices for houses got really expensive. So that means we can afford to even lower rents without necessarily needing to be cash flow negative, or really not be able to keep up with rents essentially. But yeah, so with the main topic of this video is it seems like everybody and their mother is talking about relocating, and that could be the one or two things I'm thinking. And if you have a third consideration as to what's going on, let me know in the comments below. And also, by the way, if you haven't liked and subscribed, do so. So that tells me either one, yeah, the cost of living is unfortunately unforgivably expensive, or number two, this is a collective psyop by someone in power here in the States to drive the narrative that everyone needs to relocate outside the United States, and then that will be a transition point or something to do something more nefarious. I have no clue, but yeah, that's what I got for you. Again, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.